Welcome to Life on Mars. I'm Alex, the CEO and founder of MarsBased. And in this episode, we will be talking to Thomas Petit, one freelancer specialized in product growth and marketing that I've been following on Twitter for so many years. He runs by the handle at Thomas PCN, as in Thomas Barcelona. I think I met him through the guys at 8feet, if I'm not remembering wrongly. The thing is, he's been very opinionated. You know, he's a freelancer, but he's very opinionated, very contrarian when it comes to the growth mentality that a lot of startups, a lot of people in the tech industry have, you know, of that kind of mentality that goes along the lines of growth at all costs, kind of like following the Uber model of crashing and burning things and trying to be these uber capitalist mindsets that most constantly they just ruin things for the rest of players in the industry, overvaluing companies, inflationing the salaries, and just indulging in some dark patterns when it comes to marketing, product, and technology that are not very ethical or moral, right? That's one of the things I like about him. He's super transparent. He runs a very, very good growth-based newsletter. He's very opinionated, and in spite of being in the tech industry where everybody seems to be, you know, happy to hit that hockey stick growth, and of course, he has to do some things to, you know, when he's hired as a freelancer and he has to grow the companies that he's hired to work for, but he does it in a much more ethical way that most people, that 99% of people in the industry. He earns huge my respect. We're also very aligned on our views, as you know, at MarsBased, and especially as like in the founders of MarsBased, we're really opinionated about certain things, especially when it comes to politics, when it comes to employee relations, when it comes to, you know, brand identity and ethical values. I would argue that I have very contrarian views myself when it comes to, you know, VC-backed companies and the kind of tactics they employ just to grow beyond limits, to outpace the competition and try to inflate their valuation as much as possible. Kind of like some tactics that we've seen some, especially, you know, I'm going to bash on some Spanish companies because they are the ones that we have in our circle. But that could be said, and also, you know, about the companies in the United States or every other country in the world. But we've all heard about, you know, Theranos, that company in the US that committed like huge fraud, and other companies that have, you know, also committed fraud and other despicable actions in the industry in Silicon Valley. Their stories are much more famous, so that's why, you know, we mention a few of them that are more like national or like more like local, and also because, you know, we've either worked for them or competed against them, or, you know, we got friends in the company, so we are all in the same ecosystem. Anyways, that being said, huge respect to Thomas, and very thankful for his time, just because he's very open about it, very transparent on Twitter and all his on his social media. It takes a certain kind of attitude and values and strength and courage to do that, because not everybody likes to play it on the safe side, and there's this sort of like patronizing culture of the gatekeepers of the industry, whereby they always tell you not to have strong opinions, not to be opinionated, not to stand up for things in public, you know. And we've seen that in the latest years, there's been some global movements that have really shaken the world, or the tech industry. And most likely than not, a lot of people, a vast majority of people, have taken a stance. And things like Black Lives Matter, or some revolutions in the Middle East, or racial injustice, or what have you, right? So huge shout out to Thomas, because he's also very, very opinionated in some things happening in the Spanish startup ecosystem, in the Spanish tech and startup ecosystems. We name a couple of companies here and there because we might not be very aligned with their policies and their tactics. And so, you know, as a huge follower of his, I think we recorded a really interesting interview where we discuss growth, where we discuss the intersection of product growth and business, and all about these tactics, like how VC money sort of corrupts the startup missions and values, how growth at all costs is more detrimental than not, because a lot of companies think that they are like the next Uber, the next Instagram, the next Facebook, but in all likelihood, they are not. But they employ all these tactics nonetheless, and that's not going to go down very well in their path or in their entrepreneurial career, right? We talk a lot about dark patterns, right? About companies citing their, their membership cancellation options, about like some UX dark things that you can do in order to sort of monetize more your users or to have them more addicted to your platform. And because growth and marketing are most likely, and most companies are not taking into account ethical KPIs, right? The KPIs, these particular areas of the companies are driven by and measure against some KPIs, which are like, engagement rates, cost of acquisition, lifetime value, and conversion rates, and click-through rates, and whatnot. But all the growth people are incentivized to make these numbers go up, right? And all these charts go up and to the right, without thinking about the consequences, about the long-term consequences. And now we're seeing them. We talk about Facebook, we talk about Instagram, we talk about Twitter, how Twitter is like actually implementing some things that go against the growth mindset, and they're detrimental to the growth, let's say KPIs. Like for instance, when you want to retweet an article that you haven't clicked on, Twitter will stop you, will prevent you from doing that. Let's say, do you really want to retweet that, or do you want to read it first, right? And a lot of people have second thoughts about it, and they will retweet less, but maybe they are spreading fewer false news, or fewer articles that are clickbaity, and they're not really saying what they explain in the title. So maybe this goes against the KPIs of growth, but it's a much more ethical and moral standard of living and acting and developing and designing, because that's what we're here for, right? We talk about product, we talk about UX, marketing, and technology. So without further ado, I'll leave you with this interview with Thomas Petit. Let's go with it. Thomas, welcome to the show. Comment ça va?
Hey, Alex. Happy to be here. Long time no see, and excited for today.
Yeah, I wanted to bring an expert in marketing in the show, because that's something, I've got a saying that probably you're not gonna like, but yeah, I've been saying this too often recently, because my experience with some apps and some technology is that marketers ruin everything. Like once marketers exploit something that works, I've got the feeling that they tend to overexploit it, and maybe it's part of their company culture. Maybe it's something ingrained in the KPIs that they've got in their growth mindset and whatnot. But let's try to discuss this. I wanted to talk about dark patterns. I wanted to talk about growth hacking, about company values. Where should we start? Maybe you want to give a little bit of context as to when did you become, I don't know if you call yourself a marketer, but certainly you're a marketing expert in my eyes.
Yeah, it's just the buzzword change every 2 or 3 years. So I guess lately people would tag it as something like growth manager because it makes it sound more fancy, but I don't use titles. So I guess, yeah, that works. I do try to broaden a little bit my scope and dabble with more product and data stuff, but marketing is where I come from, and actually what people pay me to do. So yeah, that's what it is.
When did you start? How did your passion for this area kind of like come from?
Actually, I wouldn't say I discovered the passion. It's more like the field discovered me a bit out of I don't know, default. I make a very generalist business school, work in a couple things. I tried to build a SaaS company 12 years ago, failed miserably. And suddenly I needed a job, and people were okay to give that to me. And because I had like some online background and stuff, and social media was just starting, I just happened to start because people wanted to pay me for that and not for other things. And apparently, I don't know, it kind of the field dragged me there, and I kept going deeper without really deciding ever that this was going to be my career. So yeah, marketing decided for me in a way.
Yeah, and to be honest, shout out to your newsletter because I think it's a very interesting one. You can share how people can subscribe to that. But one of the things that really attracted me to invite you to this podcast is, at MarsBased we're a very opinionated company, right? And there are some companies that are hugely opinionated, and of course they're our influence. I'm not even gonna name them now, but you are extremely opinionated on social media too, right? Your Twitter handle especially, your I think that we coincide or our opinions overlap in sort of understanding that not everything is good. Not you can like no the end doesn't always justify the means in tech and growth and marketing, and you're exposing certain bad practices of companies very explicitly in social media. How my question here is like, why did you decide doing that? Because a lot of people will tell you that will be detrimental to your career. I will add to that. Fuck that shit. It's not. But when did you decide and why?
Well, I guess I just have this opinion and I wanted to say them, and I just went with it. Also, I think it was also a reaction to like lots of thoughts online are not bold enough, like too polished, and you can feel like kind of sometimes the power of the corporate behind, or when a very big company release a feature, the way it's written, you feel like a lawyer has written it, and it makes, I think it makes lose what's actually important. And I say, fuck it, I'm gonna say what I see. I'm gonna be wrong many times. It might be detrimental. Every now and then I'm thinking, oh, I should just shut up and delete all those tweets that are already recorded somewhere. But eventually I realized that it comes with a slight risk, like you can slip and say something you shouldn't have. But most of the time, even people who disagree, they actually like the fact that you're actually putting the voice out and not following like very bland opinions. And honestly, I think it played in my favor on the long term. Just whether people agree or disagree is a completely different thing. But yeah, at least like here, there's a strong opinion. It's interesting to see. Also like to hear strong opinions of opponents. And yeah, Twitter is kind of cool for that because people are extremely radical. And even if sometimes it pushes a bit far, I think it wakes up to some perspective that you might not get in other echo chambers.
Yeah, and it creates some sort of debate. One can argue that maybe it's toxic because there's a lot of trolling, there's a lot of bots and whatnot. But at least I don't like the one thing I appreciate about Twitter and people like you in particular is like you're not sugarcoating stuff, right? And of course, I think there's sort of a gatekeeping in the industry in which if you're young, you cannot have opinions. But the older you get, it's like, oh, these look at this reference in marketing. These super experienced VC, they have really shit opinions sometimes, but they have very blunt opinions. And because they're old, they are respected and revered, right? But young people's like, no, they're just like trolls. I don't know. That's sort of my understanding. That's why I appreciate. I think we're on the same mindset here. How do you see it?
Yeah, I never thought of it through the lens of age. Might be true in many cases, but I don't think it's necessarily like the whole explanation. I think it's also like the liberty you have to voice it. I mean, you have to want to voice strong opinions publicly, but I don't think it's necessarily only age. Obviously, experience helps a little bit, but I think it's also what you can do. Younger, lots of people would think, oh, it's going to be detrimental if I say that, and actually, it gets sometimes. I mean, I'm a freelance now, so it just makes it a lot easier to just speak because I mean, I'm only going to earn myself. I'm not going to have to deal with any kind of company lawyer or whatever, and it makes it easier. So I guess when you're part of an organization, it's a little bit harder to voice things that are related to your work, just out of contracts maybe. Never thought of it through the age lens, but might be true as well.
So basically, your views reflect the views of your employer because you're employing yourself, right? In this case, you don't have this limitation.
Exactly.
And but like for instance, like I'm starting to think like I remember when I got into I'm not a marketer, right? But I have sort of become one because even though I come from development, since I created the company, I'm doing all the marketing efforts in MarsBased, marketing and sales, which are two fields that are entirely new to me. And I remember that like when you're starting, it's super enjoyable and it's kind of like addictive to see that like the very basic marketing you can do for a startup or a tech company with 20% of the effort you get 80% of the results, right? So you get some immediate results and that creates that sort of like dopamine kick that perhaps I think that's why a lot of people get into marketing and they sort of try the ABC of marketing. Oh, if you do this, it works. You do this, it works. And I find myself that after a few years, I see that everybody's employing the same tactics. It's kind of like they have this guide, style book, or whatever, right? They all employ the same push notification, the same messaging, the same tone, the same vibe, and it gets tiring after a while. Maybe I sound like somebody who's like really old into this, and I've been only 8 years into the marketing. But probably, can you also spot am I totally off the mark here, or can you also spot this sort of, things that you can read between the lines and say like, they're employing the HubSpot guide style, they're employing the Salesforce guide style here when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of natural. Before answering that, I'll come back to where you started, which is actually one of the things that I do like about marketing in general and acquisition in particular is that the feedback is so instant. Like sometimes we go on and develop not even a whole product, but just a feature that is slightly complex, and between research and design and development, maybe even testing, very quickly that's a few months of between the idea and actually seeing it live, even as an MVP or whatever. And I'm way too impatient for that kind of cycles. And in a way, marketing has this thing that is very a thing of the instant, a bit like Twitter compared to other things, but and you get the feedback instantly. You try something, after a couple of days, you already got a feeling if it will get traction or not. And very fast you can tweak it, very fast you can cut it down. You can also launch it very fast without requiring like a lot of specs. And I actually really like the fields for that. I went a little bit more into product at some point, but I got frustrated about like kind of waiting times and until I get this response. And I think that's one thing I like. But coming back to your question, yeah, I mean, there's this, I think it's on the Reforge blog, like there is this kind of stages of marketing tactics and channels in general where early adopter take all the risk, you don't know how to do it, you have no clue, but suddenly you strike gold and you're among the first, and it's just like a ridiculous wave. To give you an example, I was a beta tester for Pinterest ads a long time ago, and I mean, among apps were maybe 3 or 4 advertisers for apps. It was unbelievable. Like the price were just insanely cheap. Like think less than 10x what it was on Facebook at the time. And the user had never been exposed to any ads. The response was absolutely unbelievable. Correct. And suddenly they deployed the product larger, and well, honeymoon period over, we start to optimize, and suddenly big brand came, and we're like, I mean, it can still make a lot of sense to advertise on Pinterest, but in that particular case, we just dropped it and moved to something. And then TikTok was appearing. And if you were the first there, you have to dig a lot. There's no best practice. You have to find it by yourself. Actually, I think that's what excites me, like that there is no playbook, that there is no best practices. But if it works, and if from a marketing standpoint, but in this case, if user flock there, everybody will follow, like eventually. My colleague, Eric Surford, wrote a piece on TikTok ads recently saying like, I mean, if you're not there, there's something you're doing wrong. Like you can't ignore the fact that 1 billion people are spending over an hour per day on this platform. And I think then it starts making like, okay, what works? Oh, these companies have done it well. Let's follow what they did, because I need to bring results. It's not all the fun about trying. You actually need to bring usually very short-term results. Like, yeah, I need 10,000 users for next week and stuff. And so you're kind of compelled to follow what other people made seem to work, where I think this is like, in my opinion, this is just a natural cycle. Where I think people are playing this really wrong is that what is publicly exposed as best practice is often hiding the real, like devil is in the detail. And the real reason why this worked is not why it's exposed, and you have to work this out somehow. I've seen a lot of best practice, which I think people should do the exact opposite. Like if you do that, it's gonna fail, because maybe it was true 6 months ago, but then everybody's done it and nobody wants to see what you're doing. I'm seeing, for example, a lot of people doing meme ads on Instagram right now. How long is this gonna last? I don't know. Maybe if you put this Bernie Sanders sitting with his gloves, it worked 3 months ago, but then people get fed up of that and eventually it fades, or this Italian dude from TikTok, same thing. Or, I mean, everything is going to fade at some point. And yeah, timing here is crucial. When you're too early, you're losing a lot of time by it's trial and error. I think it's super exciting. It's just less efficient. If you're in the acceleration curve, it's perfect. If you arrive like a laggard, all the benefits has been ripped already, and you have to invent something new. And I guess the field is like this, that renews very fast. And in my opinion, is what makes it nice, but also enables startup to move faster than big corporate and actually grab this opportunity before the big agencies and stuff are coming to it, because they're a bit more careful, but also a bit slower. And that what makes that startup can actually exist, in fact.
Okay. Oh, you raised a really interesting thing here that made me think a little bit deeper. So like I say, when they share these best practices, they don't share the real reason why it works. My question is like, because they don't know it, or because they don't want to share it? Why do you think this is not shared? Because it's true, like you read all these guides, like you should advertise here because the engagement rate is this one and this is how you do it. But I've never seen like kind of like the technical reason in these articles.
I guess in a way, in the long term, there's no trick that you can hide. It's going to be exposed maybe first a bit like in private, but eventually like it will be known. So I don't necessarily think like it's a will to hide the real part that really works.
Okay.
But it's more the way content marketing is done. Like, oh, I need to simplify this and I need to add a layer of bullshit around it and I need to make it easy to read just because it's going to expand reach. Like if you get too technical, people get bored and then suddenly your content get less reach. So it's kind of the marketing as its negative effect in this case.
Yeah.
But I guess also like there's lots of like, you don't want to expose all your experiments and your ads and how you failed to get there. It's less sexy. And in a bunch of cases, it's actually companies don't want to show it. Like I was reviewing a friend's agency case study last week, and I read it all, and I get at the end of it, I'm saying, dude, this is so boring. There's nothing in there. And he say, yeah, but the only bits that are interested, the client asked me specifically not to show them. I was like, yeah, but then don't make the case study at all. Eventually published it, and he got good traction on readers on that. And I was like,
yeah,
it's just full of shit, I wouldn't put my brain onto that, but it's bland, it works, position you as an expert, where actually the content is like, oh man, it's just ridiculous. It's the way it is. I mean, it's easy for an individual to expose opinionated opinions on Twitter. I think it's very hard for a company and especially a marketing agency to expose very bold tactics in its blog, stuff that will not apply to all the clients, stuff that might push off beginners, people who are not very deep into the field. And it's actually in some case counterproductive, not in the sense of I want to hide, but rather it's just more efficient to produce this, my opinion, low quality content.
Yeah, and you can spot it. Like for instance, some weeks ago, I was researching on how to improve the podcast, right? So basically you Google how to improve the podcast or something like that. I don't remember what I typed, but you get the top 10 articles, and basically most of them were just rubbish because they were super sugar-coated stuff, very basic stuff that everybody knows. If you've been doing a podcast for a year, you know that, the audio needs to be like crisp quality, right? It's like, okay, yeah, but give me like more like technical stuff that we can do, like in terms of SEO or whatever, right? Or using this platform against each other. And basically all the content, they were exactly the same. These articles had overlapped in 90% of the content. And if all of them were, this list of 5 things you need to do or 10 things you need to do, and out of the 10 things, the last one is always use our software, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the dark patterns. I mean, probably it's one of the least aggressive dark patterns I'm seeing in the web and in the world of technology, right? But that's something else. I wanted to start getting into dark patterns. I think that's a good segue to go into it. It's like, oh, so the main and only reason you wrote that blog post for is because you wanted to do the product placement in your own website. And that makes you wonder, did they really like think through the content, or was like more like automated stuff, like let's put generic content like you were saying?
I mean, there are a bunch of reasons here. One is I believe most content marketers are undervalued and underpaid. Like if you've got a proper copywriter that can write 10x content, there are very few companies who are willing to pay the price difference for it. Even like, and it's a bit. I'm not a great writer myself, but when I come up with like content that is really well written, I have a huge respect for that. And from a long-term and brand perspective, for me, it's a very it's a game changer. But I also see in the day-to-day, like kind of this is the last wheel of the car, like and money tries to be saved in that area and that push for relatively low quality content. But also, I guess it's a reflection of human nature here. See, for example, you say, okay, in these top 10 results. Most of them, they're like listicles of 5 things to do to that and top 10 tricks for your podcast. Yeah, but the thing is, this is how people search in Google. So you want to produce this content for where there is volume of search, not for the 3 weirdos that actually have a very specific query, but like for the many thousand that look for it. And then we fall into clickbait all the time. Like, and it's just that these listicles, they just fucking work. People click on it. So if Google see that user click on it, they rank it higher. And it's just like a natural cycle of actually pushing not the best content up in many cases. If you look at, I think in Google, the quality of results have lowered, not because Google is doing a bad job, but because human nature is pushing us towards that direction. If you look at it on clickbait on the Facebook feed, at some point they had to manually decide that the content people wanted to share the most would not be pushed as much, like because it went too far. That's already like a few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. It was actually detrimental for Facebook because they could see user engagement was higher on this shit content. And they took like kind of everybody's shit on
fake
Facebook
news
all the time. And here
right,
I'm saying they actually took a decision that was not great for them in the short term. And it's just, I'm not saying Facebook does great thing here. I'm just saying we humans have a terrible behavior on picking content. Like we love clickbait, we fall into it all the time. Like and we're all guilty, I guess, in this sense.
Yeah, and to your point, and you raised a really good point here. Is like it works for most of the people. That's the point. Then Google ranks on popularity and engagement. But I accidentally ended up in these results because they ranked higher because they're precisely not ranked on the quality of the. I mean, it's on average, it's good quality for the majority of people, but it's not tailored to the quality I'm looking for, right? So therefore, I contributed to even make them rank higher because I clicked on them, I read them, and I spent time on them. And I was like, but that's not like if I could downvote that. If there was a button for me to downvote, it's like that's not the kind of article I wanted to see.
Yeah,
things could be different, but I mean that doesn't work yet, right? I mean, on Twitter there is a downvote button now.
Yeah, I mean, I got it this week. Big companies, I mean, have produced algorithmic like change, whether it's for the feed or Google result or whatever, that are really impressive, I would say. But downvoting also comes with consequences. So Reddit is really big on that, Hacker News, but it can also go sideways very fast, and it's not necessarily going to improve the quality of content. I mean, it's a really like content, not moderation here, but like kind of filtering is very tricky. I don't think downvoting is the answer, but maybe you're very demanding about the depth of content you were looking into. And the truth is that when I want to learn about something I don't know, let's say, I participate in a bunch of podcasts, but I'm never the organizer, let's say the producer. I have no fucking clue how it's done. And probably these articles would be relatively useful to me because I have no fucking clue. But then when I'm looking at something that is a bit more specific, and let's say my demands are high, just like yours were, typically this is not something I'm going to Google. This is something I'm going to say, oh, I know this company posted related content that was good. I'm going to dig on what they say. Or I know that guy is really good at this. I'm going to ask him, and maybe he doesn't have the late trick, but it's going to tell me like, oh yeah, look at how these guys do it. And look at, oh yeah, last week I read a really 10x content about it. And so, and I'm going to Slack a friend and I'm going to ask for, let's say for a referral to somebody I know. And so when it's a bit more technical or like when I need more depth, Googling is not my reflex. But when you need let's say, relatively broad approach on topics, Googling is awesome because you get this 101 instantly. It's actually brilliant. Like you get the answer very fast, but it's not very deep. Like not so many people want the hard truth with all the depth. And in this case, I don't Google. I ask people I know in the field. Maybe I'll ping you someday about this podcast promotion tricks instead of Googling this shitty listicle.
Yeah, I have to admit that I search on Twitter first before going onto Google. But like Twitter search is like so bad, it's not even funny. But I get really good answers. Like for instance, like even as a developer, sometimes I first tweet I search on Twitter, then going into Stack Overflow or even Google, because it's like, oh, I get this really specific, and then I can reach out to the person one-on-one directly, you know, kind of like without having to go through the platform and sign up here and whatnot. But yeah.
I'm surprised you do this for technical topics, but I admit I do it for less technical topics because it's going to provide me an answer, but it's going to direct me towards somebody who knows. And very often I would use the Twitter search filtering from my followings, like the few thousand people that I've already trusted, like I trust the content, I want to see the content, and then it would just direct me like, oh yeah, I forgot this guy was talking about that, and it would just point me towards a direction where to dig, but almost never give me the answer. That's why for a technical question I found it a little bit bizarre, but I think we're weirdos here. Like, I mean, the normal is to search on Google, and the number 2 search engine in the world is actually YouTube. Twitter is probably like you, me, and 2 other weirdos.
Yeah, I know. Circling back to something that you said before is that marketing people are underpaid. So let's not punch down.
Say that. I say content marketing people are underpaid.
Content marketing people, yeah. Or maybe, you know, people who are not like the VP of marketing, of course, will be well paid in a company, right? But content marketing is often disregarded as something that, you know, you can outsource to any kind of agency or PR, some sort of like social media marketing. However, let's not punch down, let's punch up. And so what can we do as companies to, besides, you know, raising the salaries or paying better for better kind of content and marketing? Because I think that sort of contributes to the vicious life cycle of, you know, even lowering the standards even more, because there's always a cheaper option that works because it works. It gives you 80% of the results for a very low price, right?
I don't know what we can do. I mean, there are a few behaviors that I adopted personally, I think that are going to lead nowhere at all. But like, let's take the LinkedIn feed, for example. So I don't know who the PM is there, but like, this is like a fucking catastrophe. And like, for the last maybe 5 years or more, everybody has realized that if you get people to go into the comment section, the distribution is bigger. So everybody is using this trick of, go check in the first comment, or comment this crap, or react with remote is better and do
the
this.
polls. Correct. So
I promised myself that I would never go in the comments if the post is asking me to go in the comments. Or I would never react if I'm asked to react. But
you're a drop in the ocean. Your action will have no effect whatsoever.
I'm 1 in a billion. The impact of this is going to be 0. I just want to believe that I'm going to do it. I know it's useless. I'm going to lose time. Fuck it. It's the same on Google. I stop clicking on listicles unless it's for professional research. Like I want to rank my own listicle next to them. But otherwise, like I do not click on any article that starts with a number. Like that's it. Like But this is I don't know what we can do as many individuals. I know it's useless. I just like to do it like this. I don't know what we can really do. And I mean, for this company, like a massive amount of effort and smart brains is being like researching into it. It's a very hard topic. And like I said, we're fighting against human nature, and putting the metric is hard. If you go into more of a practical, let's say, relatively small startup, 10, 20, 50 people, and you're like, the problem you face very often, or at least the problem I face with a bunch of the ones I work with is, oh yeah, the paid marketing dudes, I put $100 there and 2 days later, I've got $200 in sales. So it's kind of like immediate. And if that guy, I'm going to pay him $3,000 and he's going to bring me 50 grand of business, it's an easy win to actually hire another one or raise him or whatever. Whereas, let's say, not only on content, but overall more organic tactics, they take longer and they take months to actually show. And they don't show up with like such a, okay, I've tracked 10 sales. It's from brand building to building community. I do believe people are not seeing the compounding effect of that. I mean, paid is like a water tap. You stop paying and it stops from a day to another. Like, but literally, like it stops. The effect is immediate. Like you're not building anything here. You just pay. And I believe a lot of companies should rethink how combining the two is what is in my interest for the long term, because I need this short-term result, but eventually if I only do paid, I'm going to end up into a wall. And I think this is the reason why a lot of content in particular, and let's say organic growth, people are vastly underpaid. It's because the consequences are much farther and less measurable. And I believe it's a mistake, but it's a mistake. That's how, I mean, sometimes I am in a position to allocate budget. I'm like, fuck, I need to make a bet against the numbers that I see because I think it's the bigger goal in the long term. But if I'm looking at quarterly result, if we're fundraising in Q1, I can't make that bet too big. I have to hide it somewhere under the carpet because I'm going to start getting questioned like, hey, but these two dudes that you hired, where are the sales? I'm like, yeah, they're coming next year. Just wait for it. You have to trust my voice for it. Very few people, I mean, in some case, people do believe me on that, but a lot of the time they're going to tell me like, yeah, dude, that's cool, but we can't really wait. Like, and if you have the luxury to afford long-term bets, and I guess that's kind of what you're doing with this podcast and with Startup Grind and also personal interest, but like betting on the very long term of companies. Like probably this podcast is going to bring you zero lead, but it develop kind of a following and it places you in how like you position yourself as an individual, but also how the company is. And this is a very long game you're playing. It's a long game you're playing because you're not here for this quarter results and because you're the boss. So nobody on top of you is going to say, hey, why did you spend fucking 2 hours with Thomas trapping, like telling bullshit about feeds and Twitter and stuff? Has this bring any sale in the short term? The answer is no.
Yeah, no. That's a really good point. I mean, there's so many points you raised here. The first one is that the problem with using these short-sighted content tactics or marketing tactics, is that they work. And if you don't employ them, you have the losing horse in the race, right? Yep. The other ones will have an advantage over you because they're using them, because they're cheap and they work fast. And so if you choose not to use, if you opt out from using them, then you're already like sort of like hindering yourself. Like, if you know what I mean, like, I don't know if I got the point across, right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
If you can afford it because your company doesn't depend on fundraising or you're not playing that's why bootstrap companies, we tend to be a little bit, in my eyes, more ethical because we are not racing against time. We are not running out of money, right? So we can be more opinionated. We can do things the other way around. Whereas startups, and especially high growth startups, they're competing against themselves and against their fundraising and whatnot. So they depend on short-term results, which in turn just incentivizes them to do it even more like that, right?
Literally, what you're getting with VC money is you're trying to accelerate faster than you would have got. Maybe in some cases, you would never have gone in there because you need to capital to deploy and actually make it happen. But in many cases, I mean, I read a couple of years ago a stat that was like, out of all the VC dollars, 40 cents are going to Google and Facebook immediately. That's not even counting the whole tail of other providers. And like, and a bunch of it is going to salaries and whatever it is, product development and customer support and HR and stuff to grow as well. But like a massive amount of this money is just there so that you can get faster. And in some markets, you need to, lots of markets are like kind of winner takes all. So you need this velocity. That's why you will only see VC money in business like scooters, deliveries, and whatnots. But
things that only work at a huge scale if you're the winner.
It only works if you're the
four
winner.
Players, doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So you just need to be faster than the other ones. And I can't remember which VC it was, but actually they stopped betting they made a mistake, which is they were betting on one horse in every race. And they're like, fuck, this is a wrong strategy. Now let's bet on the race. We're just going to finance all four of them. Eventually, they're going to merge. Some are going to die, but we're going to end up with the winner. What we believe in is that this market will eventually have a winner. We have no fucking clue who it is. Let's not lose in any case.
I think Sequoia did that, right? Wasn't it?
And they just fucking
don't
bet on
that. Yeah.
And they put the money to compete with their own money, which in the short-sighted perspective sounds ridiculous, but they actually bet it on the game. In your particular situation, you're in a very different position. You're not trying to get the fast as you can. You're trying to get as far as you can, which totally changed the perspective and enables you to like make some bets that are like on organic and on longer and don't yield immediate results. I'm not blaming VC for doing it. It's just the nature of some business. It's just like this. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot in my own space, like for subscription apps. Yeah, sometimes when it's hard, it just works. It's hard to resist. Like if I'm getting $2 every time I'm putting one there, why am I not putting $1 million? Like it would be stupid not to do it. I'm like, sometimes it's hard to see the big picture. And the big picture is that this acceleration sooner or later often ends in the wall if you haven't built its complements in parallel. But you only discover that later, and when you see it, it's too late. Happened to many startups I've been at, actually.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really realized here is that, and that's also circling back to another topic you raised earlier on, which is the KPIs, right? It's not only that like this sort of like notification, instant gratification, these dopamine kicks. It works and provides immediate satisfaction, but also all of these marketing actions are measured against KPIs that only take into consideration like engagement and addiction and business results, right? But we haven't yet taken into the equation something more like, some more ethical stuff. I don't know what's the solution here, certainly not an expert on this, but like, of course, if you optimize for engagement, you can be really addictive and really toxic, right? Like for instance, one dark pattern that I've seen in a lot of companies is like, oh, churn is bad, right? You don't want people canceling their accounts. Let's make it complicated, right? That's why I'm so vocal against like fucking Glovo, because it's like you cannot cancel your account through the fucking app. They've raised like 400 million, 500 million. You have to write an email. You have to like be there in person in their office and kind of like, dude, and I'm pretty sure that's not laziness. That's not product. That's not marketing. It's like, let's not give people an option to cancel their accounts because our VCs don't want to see churn, right? Let's not give people an option, right? I don't know what your take on this. Probably it's the least aggressive or maybe they're worse dark patterns. They're certainly worse dark patterns than this one. But this one is one that really bugs me off because it's like, I want to cancel through the fucking app. It was like, Deliveroo is also very complicated. And I don't know, American Express is impossible, right? So some companies are like, no, we're not going to give them this option. I'm like really pissed off about not being able to cancel my account through the fucking app. And I have to call somebody in 2021, right? What are the worst dark patterns that you've seen? Which are the ones that piss you the most?
I had to send a fax to cancel a subscription this year, like 2021. There was no other way to cancel it.
What company? Can we call them that?
American company. I'm gonna.
All right.
They've changed, so that's why I don't want to name it. Well, fucking.
All right.
It's the New York Times. They changed the.
Oh yeah, they're super famous. DHH from Basecamp is like super pissed off.
Except they changed. Because then I resubscribed. There was I like a bunch of their article. I did resubscribe. The offer was just unbelievable. I also, I don't know, they're a big company with lots of people, but I wanted to support it just to make a gesture. It was more of a donation than anything, really, subscription.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to cancel again. And I actually, it took me less than a minute. It was brilliant.
Finally.
Like, whoa. So I don't know, maybe, I think it's because I'm international as well. Like the process is different for US people. So you might want to look into that. But yeah, in this case, it's kind of who at the New York Times decided to make the decision that canceling the subscription would go from the most tedious process ever to something very simple. What has been the logic behind was the public backlash of DHH too hard? Is this just they changed the manager who said, no, I don't want to retain clients again, they will. We want happy customers. And I believe it went from a change in management perspective and not really a particular public backlash. But I don't know the backstory here. I just know that it was easy as fuck for me. Like, so I was surprised because I did it twice. Like, but fucking sending a fax, I had to Google this thing, like how to send a fax. You know, like
it's like I wouldn't even know where to start now. I've sent a fax like 20 years ago. We had a fax machine at home. Yeah. My dad had home office and whatnot, but like. I didn't even know fax existed nowadays.
Yeah, they do. You can do it online. Like you upload your picture and they will charge you like a ridiculously small amount and the fax would go through. Like it does exist. I don't know anyone with a fax machine, but apparently some companies have some. But yeah, that one was kind of ridiculous. I mean, the thing about dark patterns is they can be a bit everywhere. It goes from this. Like this one is very obvious. I think the nasty one are the ones that are really, really hidden, are the ones that are really like, you don't realize it ever, like that you were pushed to make this choice. And sometimes.
Can you give an example or two? Like.
The thing is, sometimes it's borderline product genius, UX genius, and dark pattern into pushing people into going further into the process. I'll take an example. Like I see a lot of onboardings in subscription apps, and most of them, they start with very simple questions. And then the more you go through it, the more you give about yourself, so much so that when you arrive to the paywall, you really believe like, first, you've made a commitment. You already spent 10 minutes to answer all this stuff you need to go through.
Yes.
Two, it's going to be so much more personalized because you've answered all that. And I know for a fact that for a bunch of those, all this information you fill actually doesn't personalize anything after that. It's just to raise the intent on the paywall. But actually the experience is the exact same if you answer something different. In this case, is it a dark pattern? Yes, it is. But how bad is the lie? I mean, people don't seem to be too bothered. I'll even give you a crazy experiment here. I will not name the company, but I've seen several do it. I think Noom has it as well. So everybody's copying that now, which is just before the paywall, there was this page that was loading. And I called the PM and I say, man, this loading is too long. Like it waits for like 5 seconds. Can we shorten it? Like, because I don't think users want to wait. And it's like, is there something you're calculating in the background that takes so much? I say, oh no, that's totally fake. But we A/B tested that if it was instant or when it's 5 seconds, people think something is happening, that you're customizing their plan and preparing them something really cool, which was, and they even A/B tested like 1 second and 3 seconds and 5 seconds, like absolutely crazy. Like, does this qualify as dark pattern? Yes.
Yeah, it's sort of like this one example reminds me of the one that Booking.com brought up. This sort of this technology is like only 2 on our side, like 3 people are watching this.
3 people are looking into it.
And in some companies they have implemented that with some really shit libraries, and you go into code inspection and you see it's like something hard coded. Right.
Yeah, with a random number between 3 and 8, like.
Yeah, and so that's what I say. Like, so dark patterns, and to kind of like in the marketer's defense, they come at the intersection of marketing, product, and technology because the developers have to implement that stuff, right? And sometimes like, no, man, I'm not gonna implement this, right? So I mean, that's why I'm saying like, I'm seeing, but the thing is like, this fucking shit works. Because we are not measuring against some more like ethical KPIs. We're only measuring against some like business-driven, growth-driven KPIs, right? And it's like, I don't know, man. I just really don't want to work in that. I really don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, they're not all the same. And I mean, it works for a reason and we fall for it. I don't think that from a legal standpoint, nothing can happen because it's just too tricky. Every case is different. But if you look at another one, which is not accepting the consent pop-ups, cookies, GDPR, whatever. At
Oh my
some
God.
point, the European Union had to come and say, okay, like the dark patterns have went way too far. You need
Yes.
a refuse all button at the beginning. Like you need to have a one-click refusal.
And
I
it still
see
doesn't really it's not really implemented.
it's not fully enforced, but that's what the law
No.
is saying now. It took like 3 or 4 years to realize that everybody was hiding the things like so bad you had to click everywhere that European Union,
Yeah.
okay, what we designed at first didn't work, but just because the law always catch up later. I'll tell you a very similar one for emails. So
Yeah.
I've got a tag on every email that comes. If there is the word unsubscribe or darte de baja or anything like this, I've got a tag so that I know it's not a personal email. It's like kind of a mailing list. And once in a while, I would unsubscribe from this or that I did subscribe legitimately. They're not spam. There's stuff I registered to. I don't want to see it anymore. Or I accepted the terms I didn't even know. If I click on unsubscribe and I need more than one click to actually be unsubscribed, this is straight spam, like straight spam. Because eventually, even though I'm a drop in the ocean, the signal that you send by marking them as spam is really hard, like for the company. If just 10 people out of 10,000 mark it as spam, it's like a really, really bad thing for your delivery. And so I have this thing, it's like, if you don't let me unsubscribe in one click, I'm not going to go through a process. I'm happy to leave feedback, like unsubscribe in one click and then ask me for feedback. That's cool. I'll give it to you. But if I
like
need
MailChimp,
to go through...
MailChimp does it well. Like you click there, it's like, oh, you have been unsubscribed. Do you want to give a reason? Perfect. But you are already unsubscribed, right?
Exactly. They manage languages terribly with this process, but still the process is nice and they force people to be like this. But like forcing me to log in to actually unsubscribe, big no. Like this is
write your email.
Big no.
It's like, you know my email, motherfucker. Why should I write it? Like, I click from it. You have it. Like, email spam. So, or the dark pattern of like, oh, you sign up for my product. You are automatically sign up to all of our newsletters and all of our communications. Like, I'm not sure how GDPR contemplates this, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't really allow you to do that legally. Right?
Yeah, I think it does because it's the same company. The thing is, nobody reads the fine print. So as long as the company say, hey, you also subscribe to all of that, and there is a checkbox that you do check.
But you need to check explicitly something that in order to receive the marketing company or commercial communications, you need to check a separate box.
Only Europe.
Only Europe. Yeah, I know. Only Europe. But even though for a European company, sometimes it's like, you try this product, boom, all of a sudden you receive a fucking email with where I'm like, even happened with some company that's, our friends in the industry. So this is like, we tested it. It's a company from Barcelona. Let's try it for our company, for internal usage and whatever. We ended up not using it. It's like, and all of a sudden we started receiving all of these newsletters like, no, we didn't subscribe to that, motherfuckers. But I'm not going to call them out because they're friends. But I've told them in private.
Something I've used for a very long time. It doesn't work everywhere. Sometimes you will get detected and you will get kicked out. But like, with every Gmail address, which is more than half of all the emails in the world by now, you can add plus whatever at the end. So I would subscribe and say, I'm Thomas plus MarsBased at gmail.com. I'm Thomas plus, and I would mark it. So if I start receiving crap, you can know where you got it from. Like, and
exactly.
So for me, I mean, again, drop in the ocean, not a large number of people are going to do that, but you lost me forever with that. And I think here, like, it might work on the short term, like, oh, I've got a lot more subscribers and my reach I've raised and so on. But eventually, if people receive something they didn't want, they didn't consent, in the very long term, I think it's going to generate more resent than the impact of the sales of whatever you could have in the short term. And sort of karma pays back in the long term. It's just that in the short term, it seems efficient. I had the same thing at some point with like early stage startup. We're really stretched for money. Fundraising takes longer than it should. And literally we couldn't pay salaries the following months. And we just started sending like promo offers like crazy to everybody who signed up to us at any point in the life of the company. And like literally we spammed a shitload of people with like that offer. And we did get a bunch of cash in. And it was absolutely marvelous because we hadn't done it before. We sold a significant amount of stuff that month, which potentially actually saved the company because we could pay salary. Eventually we raised and so on. And then say, oh, that works. Let's do more of this. And eventually, after we fundraised, just a couple months later, we'll hire somebody for CRM and push notification and email and stuff. And the database was burned. Like, we made money that saved our ass over a period of a couple of months. But eventually, this whole list was completely dead. Our domain was dead. And it took us a year of work to eventually got back to even reaching people through email. And it's kind of, we needed it to survive, but nobody thought at that point, hey, what are the actual consequences of doing this? We're like, we need to save our house. We'll fucking do it. In this case, it was a life or death situation for the company, not for us. But in many cases, we're not thinking, or we're not seeing the big picture in it's hard to anticipate secondary consequences for many decisions. But I want to believe, and probably I'm too naive and too much of a romantic in a way. I want to believe that karma has its way in the very long term. Like, not that all the criminals are going to get punished, but that if you push too hard, if you pull the rope too hard, it's going to break eventually. And maybe on the short term, you're on the other side, you're good, but it's going to break and the consequences are going to be bad. So I do try to balance the act, and it's unstable balance. You need to answer the short term. Everybody's got OKRs and somebody to report to, and even without investors, you always have a boss, or somebody's always your boss. In your case, you're the boss, the client is your boss. So there's always somebody, upstairs in the food chain. So you have to balance the act a little bit. I want to believe those who make the extra effort of thinking the big picture will get rewarded in the long term.
Yeah,
I'm a naive person.
No, I mean, you can call it naive, romantic, a bit hippie if you want, but like I think that's why we're discussing here, because we're very aligned on that. I mean, of course, maybe, and sometimes companies, even if they're like super ethical and whatnot, and it's not like I would call our company ethical, but certainly we do have our standards. We're very principled and very opinionated on a lot of stuff, and very vocal about it, even on social media. But of course, sometimes you also fuck up because you don't know any better, right? Or I was starting marketing, maybe I use like some tags on SEO that shouldn't be used or whatever. I don't know,
That's
right?
Not too bad. It's not too bad.
It's not the worst thing ever. But like, the more you learn, I think that you have to sort of kind of like undo past actions. Like, oh, I did this and I should fix this. And most people don't go back to fix it because it would be the consequences of like, am I like getting exposed now that I've been doing it wrong for so many years? Like, but I have no fear in like going back. It's like, oh man, like we had this form in like a website we forgot about. Let's go fix it. Let's apologize. And people are like, oh, thank you for bringing that up. Like, it's good of you for like saying it, or you can even compensate those people, right? But it's like, I don't know, nobody would do that ever, I guess.
Nah, think of it this way. You see how bad technical debt can get. Like when you've got like layers of legacy shit that has been built and you actually need to clean it up. And no, we're not. Yeah. I'm bringing to the fact that at some point, brand debt cannot be fixed. Just the same way,
that's a good point.
At some point, technical debt is so big that you have to wipe it out entirely and start from scratch because there is no way to fix it. For the brand, it's a little bit of the same. Like this, let's say you go too far with the creative, you're a bit too provocative, and it works, and you push it for a while. Eventually, all these people that have been exposed to seeing your brand and this crap, you're never going to convince them back that you're this nice, cool brand that is doing good things. And it's really hard to fix brand debt. The thing is, it's really hard to see it in the short term. And this is, same answer as before. But brand debt.
Sorry, I'm laughing because when you were talking about brand debt, as a like, will Vueling, like fucking Vueling, ever get rid of their brand debt? Like, they have literally some of the worst brand debt ever. Like they have everything, like dark patterns, shit marketing, shit apps and everything. It's like, and low moral standards, I think. Like, and I think like that's sort of a meme that Vueling just does everything wrong, right? What can you do in that case? Like, what would you do? Like, if you ever got hired by Vueling, let's fix this. I know I'm totally destroying them here, but like, I think it's like, whatever, like nobody listens to this podcast, so whatever. Like, how can you unfuck a company like that?
Well, I guess in another case, this is why companies rebrand so often. Not only because it make live communication agencies and logo designers and stuff, but they actually need to hide all this crap under the carpet. Like kind of the cost of restarting a brand from zero. Zero is actually a good thing compared to the negative
negative 1,000
value that you build out of it. I don't think Vueling is going to rebrand at that point. In that particular case, you have to consider who's behind Vueling. I mean, Air Europa, Vueling, and Iberia are all the same company, which is British Airways. So at some point, British Airways can just move its pawns around, and say, okay, you know what? Vueling is too fucked. Let's put all this flight under Air Europa. They can even do it slowly and nobody will even realize it. So actually,
this is a good point.
Rather than renaming Vueling and changing this ugly yellow and gray to whatever, blue and red, they could just swap up like, oh, actually, we're going to move it to Air Europa because it's this. Or we're going to create a sub-brand of only the flights within Spain and slowly move it there, So actually, in this case, they've got this luxury that they've got 4 brands they can play a little bit around. Or they don't give a fuck because at the end of the day, like there is concentration on routes. And lots of the time, if you want the Vueling, look at the lines they have. I mean, the only alternative you have is Air Europa, which is not better from a UX point of view. The exact same owner. I would actually even argue that Air Europa is a worse UX than Vueling, but that's a personal opinion. And on the pure digital part of it, like the apps and website and stuff. But what's the alternative? Am I going to take Ryanair just because I don't want to fly Vueling? I mean, it's the same crap, At some point, I want to take a 30 euro flight. I'm going to pay the price for it. And that's it. And the price for it is that it sucks to register. And there's a dark pattern that, like right now, there's this crazy thing about Vueling that you can't take your luggage on because supposedly of COVID limitation, which means everybody goes to check-in. And people miss their flight because the check-in is so badly organized. And the other day, I was going to see my parents, and I came 1 hour before the flight, and there's like 1 hour of queue to check in. Just went in the app, pay the premium so that I can get my fucking bag on board and board it immediately. I paid not to wait. And that's the way the airline industry works these days. I mean, they try to sell you a car and this. Try to figure out what is the luggage kind of policy of every airline. It's like a nightmare. They're all different.
I know.
They're all super tricky. I mean, I'm kind of an expert at that, so I know but I understand somebody who takes 2 flights per year is going to get screwed for sure. One is going to
absolutely.
And 2, there's going to be a problem with the luggage. They're going to be charged 50 euro on the boarding gate, or something is going to happen, like guaranteed.
But like these dark patterns, they trap people who don't know any better, or they cannot afford the upgrades. Therefore, that's why they're even like twice as dark in my book, because it's like, you can pay for the premium, but other people want, so they are screwed because they cannot afford it, right? And we're okay with that as an airline, right? I was like, oh my god. Anyways, I think we could be talking for hours. I think we need to wrap it up here, but like I said, super interesting, and we could write a book of the things we haven't talked about, right? Because there's so many other things like business settings and more like UX and product and technology. I think we'll need to record a second episode. But anyways, some parting words, like before saying goodbye, we always like our guests to share one really big fuck up in their field that they've done. So it's your turn. That's one fuck up, and call it marketing or branding or monetization that you have done yourself, no other people's fuck ups. Some people try to use always a scapegoat, but
I didn't prepare for that. Shit, I'm gonna force you to edit until I come up with it. Wait for it. I do small fuck ups all the time. It's just none of the recent ones I can think of is really memorable. Like, they're all so tiny that they don't matter at all. So many times I did a zero on some campaign. Eventually, it's not my money, so I don't give a shit. It's not very original, but that happens. It's not like it happens once. It just happens regularly. You just input.
Is this something that you like when they just like the moment like you send an email to the wrong person or something that's like, oh my God, like face palm immediately or.
I got that. Oh, actually, I got that with a client yesterday. Like,
oh, nice.
I actually myself answer facepalm myself to him. Like, I took like a fucking hour to explain something that was quite technical and a reason why we should not do this. And the client answered me, okay, let's not do it. And I actually misread his email. Like, no, fuck it, let's do it. So I went, and actually I had such a patronizing tone with him. Like, it was like on the second email. Like, it was really bad.
Right.
Like, yeah, because I had taken a huge effort to actually explain why. And I made
oh my God, that's a good one.
I misread the answer as, yeah, let's do it, which was let's not do it. And I went over and again, but as if they were really 3 years old. And there were quite a few people on CC in this email. And then the one person in this group answered me like, dude, we tell you we're okay, you know, like no big deal. And then I received it and I went back and read at what I wrote and who received it. And I was like, oh my fucking God, like this is bad. Like,
that's a painful one. Oh, that's a really good. I mean, we don't do it to shame people. We do it so that we can share that, you know, it's something like that. We share our fuck ups all the time.
I guess I was pissed. I was in a hurry. I misread, but the way I talked to them was not nice. I'm lucky enough. I've been working for this company for over 3 years now. I guess they will forgive me, but I will take that debt for quite a while because now they've seen how I can talk in a very childish manner to them, and I think it's going to take. You know, trust is hard to build and easy to break.
You got some brand depth now.
Yeah, I've got some brand depth there. Yeah, definitely.
All right, 1 minute, Thomas. First of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing all of these. 1 minute. How can we help you? How can we help your brand? I mean, it's always your company, but your company is yourself. So what can we do for you? What do you got going on in your life?
I'm literally not selling nor buying anything, so it's cool. If you want to follow my crap on Twitter, I'm happy like that you do.
Your newsletter, good time to shout it out.
My newsletter is very specific for apps, but if you want to read about that, there's lots of marketing jargon in there, like kind of bizarre words. It's on madv.io. That's Mad Venture, Mobile Venture. It's actually hard to spell. madv.io. And I just ask one thing. You don't like it, just unsubscribe. Don't fucking spam me. Like,
yeah. No, but it's a good thing. Like what you mentioned in the beginning, the thing about the Gmail aliases, right? So Alex plus Nike at MarsBased.com. I've been using this forever. Like I got a blog post. I wrote a blog post on how to do it to see like. You want to know who's spamming you? Like this is a good technique. Like probably that blog post is a little bit clickbaity. I didn't know any better. Like 7 or 8 years ago, I wrote it, and but it works so well, especially with companies that sometimes I subscribe to the newsletter. It's like I didn't subscribe to your product. I subscribe to your company newsletter, and
I know we're over time, but I'll tell you a funny story.
Sure, go ahead.
I've got a fairly common name and I've got a fairly common last name in France. There's some point it was the 5th more common name and last name. So obviously there's a shit ton of Thomas Petit everywhere. Yeah. I've got this Gmail address that I always write petit.thomas in my email address.
Yeah.
And I've got one of these dude in France that's also called Thomas Petit, where his address is Petit Thomas something, but half of the time he screws up and he forgets. And so
you get his email.
Yeah. So I've got access to like his phone bills and his mortgage and dental records and like heavy crap. Like anyway, the point is he subscribed to a lot of dating sites and porn sites, which makes that I receive like a shitload of crap that he subscribes to. So maybe my wife thinks that I'm making excuses. That's why I've got so many porn email coming into my inbox.
And then you will get some ads because they read into your Gmail, right? So
but the beauty of it is that the dude always writes it without the dot. So I just label the thing like whenever something comes without the dot, it's auto spam, like boom, straight up. I keep receiving shit like all the time, but at least I can filter it. So I just Like, I just wish like that no homonyms is ever going to write it with the dot, because then my filter gets screwed and I don't have a solution for that. But it's a little bit like the plus. Like, I kind of managed to detect the pattern so I can get all that crap on the side, and that's it. Yeah. But yeah, I've received some bizarre stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
Even once, like, his mother wrote me, like, and I mean, I read it because I thought it was for me. It was at the beginning. I didn't have this label system. Yeah. And I mean, there was something that she wanted to speak to her son about that seemed important to me. So out of education, I answered her like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, you've got the wrong dude. Like, this is not the correct email address. If you're trying to reach out to your son, it's not him. I will delete this email. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I've got threats like, yeah, you've hacked into my son email and whatnot. Like, and like the amount of shit I received after that was like, okay, I need to block that sender. Like,
it's like, come on, what kind of mom talks to his son via email? Like, first off, right? That's one thing. The second is, if you're sending all of that to spam, dating sites and porn sites, I think they should be used to that. But like his dentist, it's like, screw it. It will be removed off the internet because you're automatically sending them to spam anyway.
I mean, there's not.
Yeah.
I don't fully spam. I spam all the dating and porn site. When the rest, I just auto delete, like, kind of.
All right. Well, that's a really fun story to wrap it up with. Thank you very much, Thomas. Merci beaucoup. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye.
Yeah, my pleasure. Bye-bye, Alex.